All right, everybody, welcome back. I've got an amazing guest for you guys today. We've got Barney, and Brian here. He's a wealth of knowledge just from the little bit of time that I've come across his information. He's been doing the podcast game for 7, 8 years, but also on top of that, he actually gets out and does what he talks about. He goes and hunts. He's got an amazing rug up there on the wall. That I'm jealous of. And, you got lots of things going on in Brian's life. But, Brian, in a nutshell, who are you for the listeners that may not know who you are, or maybe they do, and you just want to give a fresh perspective of who you are?
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. That's really kind. So, my name's Brian Barney. I run a podcast, Eastman's Elevated, and been running that for 7, 8 years. And basically, I'm just a die-hard bow hunter. I'm a carpenter by trade. I have a small construction company, and just moved to Montana and immerse myself in the outdoors at like the age of 19. And I was doing it before then. I come from the Olympic Peninsula, but basically just fell in love with the bow and arrow and chasing Western game, elk and mule deer and bears and antelope and basically anything they'll let me chase with the bow. And so immersed myself in that world and was just a student of the game. And the more I learned, the more effort I put in, the harder I worked at it, the more I could achieve. And I could also go on like these amazing adventures, like the lower 48 in the West and really, Alaska, Hawaii, the world, they all offer like these amazing adventures where the world isn't nerfed, where your decisions directly affect your safety and directly affect your success. And to me, it was like the ultimate challenge. And I'd put in all this work in preseason with my running and shooting and map research and work on all these hunting skills. And then, I'm just like the rest of the guys out there that I'm hunting public land, do it yourself, all on my own research, and started to find success in other places and started to write about it through Eastman's and be published, and eventually got on as a staff writer, and then had this idea to start the podcast and get into video work. And so been capturing my adventures on video as well that you can find on YouTube. And man, so I'm just, I've crafted and living my absolute best life, like going on a bunch of amazing adventures, bow hunting, and then sharing it with the world. So that's kind of the 30,000 foot view of Brian Barney and what I bring to the table.
No, that's amazing, and that's a good overview because honestly, and that's what I noticed. And I was going to ask you, do you do rifle hunting at all? Because it seems like you do a lot of bow hunting, which is amazing in and of itself. The success that you've had with a bow. I mean, anyone that has picked up a bow and has hunted for any amount of seasons can understand how limited the success rate is for any of us archers out there. Anybody that goes out with a bow, whether it be, and even less so with a long bow, or a recurve. But with the compound bow, it can still be really difficult because you're still getting to within those 50 yards or less to get some of those shots. And the success that you've had is outstanding. So definitely want to dive into that a little bit. But I love the fact that you're a public land hunter, which again, there's nothing, I've mentioned this before, there's nothing against people that go on private land and hunt private land by any means, or against rifle hunters by any means. If you're doing that and you're getting outside and you're enjoying it, go for it. But there's another level of struggle that goes into public land hunting. You're bumping into other people. Maybe there's less population of the animals you're going after. There's so many other things that go into it. So I guess first off, when did you start hunting? How old were you when you started hunting?
Yeah, so I started hunting with my family. I think I passed hunter safety at the age of 10 in Washington. And so I would start to go with my family throughout those years. And really throughout those years, we would go hunting for blacktails and Roosevelts out on the coast. And I really enjoyed it. I had a passion for it. It was going with a lot of my family. But really I was into sports and girls in high school and had other things that were taking up my time. And so really it was like I learned these valuable lessons in wrestling. Like I fell in love with that, and I would put all my time and effort into it. And the harder I worked, the more I could achieve. The harder I I worked at my skills, and the harder I worked at being in shape, the more I could achieve. And then, after high school wrestling was over, I didn't have a place for my passion and felt a bit lost. And that's when I kind of found bow hunting. And my family started me in rifle hunting. And then I think I got my first bow at 16 years old, worked for my dad throughout the summer on a construction project, and then was able to get my first bow and started bow hunting and had limited success, and then like able to arrow a couple critters. But then after I got out of high school, it was like needed a place for my passion, and I just poured it into bow hunting. And I found that those same lessons that I learned in wrestling and in life, they applied directly to bow hunting. And for me, when I find something I love, I'm all in. And so I was all in on hunting. I moved from Washington to Montana just for some awesome outdoor opportunities. And I wasn't bow only to start with. I would do any season. I was shed hunting, rifle hunting, bow hunting, bear hunting in the spring, like whatever experience that I could get and that I could gain. But as the years went on, like I had such a love for like the thrill of getting close, like into a stone's throw of an animal. And I really got hooked by the challenge. Like it is so difficult to show up in a new place on planet Earth and be there for a week or week and a half and dive in, and then be able to get to a stone's throw of an animal and then put a perfect arrow through him and keep my composure through this fog of adrenaline. And also get to hunt just the wildest places, man. I mean, the wildest places in the lower 48, like some of these places you're able to hunt high country mule deer is above 10,000, above 12,000 feet in elevation. And it's, filled with these Alpen basins and rock chutes and super rugged terrain that just requires that I train year round at it. And so like I just got hooked on bow hunting, and then I started to have some success bow hunting just due to the work I was putting in. And once I started to have a little bit of success, it was like, I killed a great bull with a rifle. It's been probably 18 years ago or 19 years ago, something like that. And I killed that bull, and I was really happy for the harvest. I had hunted him hard late season, and I learned a lot of these lessons through late season hunting. But I killed that bull, and I was like, man, I really want to kill a bull like that with my bow. And if I want to kill them like that with my bow, I have to put all my time and effort into it. And so that's when I committed to bow only. And I haven't looked back now. It's been 18, 19 years, maybe 20 years, and bow only. And I think I just really, I love how difficult it still is to be able to harvest a trophy animal, and the dedication and the dedication to the craft, and then also the commitment to being in top physical shape and being able to command my bow. And so I've just gone down each of these rabbit holes to improve my skill sets to where like I can show up in a unit or at a trailhead and be undeniable. And it's not like I'm 100% on these hunts, but I run a pretty high percentage on trophy animals, and I think that's what I'm still in love with to this day.
That's amazing. That's a cool transition, cool story. For those of you that don't know, and I've never really hunted in Washington, the fact that you started there and kept with it, it says a lot, because from what I understand about Washington, it is not an easy state to hunt. Blacktail are elusive. The elk aren't as loud and vocal. They're a lot more quiet. It's very thick and dense, especially if you're hunting the Roosevelt. So that the fact that you stuck with it, it says a lot. On top of the fact that you didn't just, you weren't just provided a bow, you weren't just given it, you actually went out and earned it, worked for your dad for a while. That says a lot as well about the character, and the drive that you had as a young person. And now, you've moved up to where, and I want to delineate where, because some people may hear trophy and misunderstand what I understand. And correct me if I'm wrong here. When you say trophy animal, you see the maturity of the animal as the trophy, not just going out and looking for antlers. Because some people take that. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and talk about how there's this idea of trophy hunting. And what is a trophy to you, I guess? So I don't put words in your mouth. What does it mean for you to be a true trophy, I guess, trophy hunter?
Yeah, I mean, For me, like it's all about the experience and the adventure and going on these trips. And the meat is the most nutrient dense organic protein on the planet. Like the wild meat that we get off these animals is absolutely amazing. And so I have two daughters. I have a wife. All we eat is wild game. We don't buy any game in the freezer. We work hard on our recipes. The animals that I harvest with my bow sustain us for the next year and sustain my passion. I'm really fueling my body with the best protein on the planet. And so I cherish every ounce of that meat. And so it's like, well, why wouldn't I just go out and shoot the first deer I saw? And the deal is like there's like this challenge level or this difficulty level in harvesting older age class animals. And the older age class animals are healthy for the herd's population. If you kill every buck before his prime, then you're not going to have very good genetics or a very good like healthy herd in the space. And so yeah, it's like I set these goals upon myself, and it's not based on antler size. It is based on maturity of the animal and age class of the animal. And I'm like everybody, like a giant rack gets me excited, and I love chasing giant critters, but I like chasing mature critters. And if it's a 150 160 inch mule deer that's a prairie mule deer that's lived to be 5 6 7 years old, it presents this ultimate challenge to me. And I'm just as excited to harvest a deer like that than I am to harvest a 5 6 or 7 year old deer that has a 200-inch rack. And so really it's just the maturity level of these animals. I cherish the meat and protein, but it's putting a higher challenge on myself to try to harvest these mature animals. It's good for the herd health. And, throughout the years, I've gotten really proficient at my bow where it isn't a problem to make sure that my freezer's full every year. So really it's just the challenge to me. So yeah, I say trophy animals, and I do cherish like all the animals, like all these different species I get to chase. But really, I'm looking for the older age class for the challenge and for the health of the herd.
Perfect. No, I love that. And I figured I didn't want to put words in your mouth, but I figured that's what a lot of people, they hear trophy and they think lion, zebra, giraffe, like all these crazy animals. You're just going out there for that trophy, the shiny thing. But people that I've known that actually enjoy the experience like yourself, and I haven't known you for very long, but people like you that I've known that seem to be in that kind of class of individual that have hunted for years and enjoy the mature animal. Of course, a good rack is going to get you excited, right? It's cool to see that, but what's cool about it is the way you kind of break it down. You see the health of the animal. You in that giant rack when it's huge and you can't wrap your hands around the bases, that tells you that the animal was healthy. He ate well. He was providing, good areas for his herd, and he lived a good life and he was mature. So, things like that. I just like to delineate that for people because some people misunderstand when people say trophy. For you, that's a trophy. Getting that meat to provide for your family, watching that mature animal, and the difficulty of going after a deer or an elk that is that mature age class. Like they're on a whole nother level. They've been called in, they've seen humans, they've heard arrows whiz by, they know what's up. So that's a whole nother challenge. And that's cool that's what gets you excited. I love hearing that. So let's kind of pivot a little bit here and talk about, you brought up your wife and daughters. How is it that you find that there's never really a true balance, I guess? A lot of people look for that balance, and during hunting season, you're a lot more focused on hunting and a little bit less on the family. But how do you maintain that quote unquote balance in your life, being a good family man, husband, father, and a good hunter?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think you're spot on, man. I think it is like it is a balance, right? And like how you do one thing is how you do everything. So it does me no good to be this great bow hunter and then be divorced from my wife and have my kids hate me. And so it is like this balance, but I've been able to get my wife and my family on board. Like they know how much it means to me. They know my passion for bow hunting and how hard I work at it. And so for me, it's like, I just work hard at all facets of my life. And so as far as being a husband or being a father, it's like, so many people spend the time with their family but aren't present. They're thinking about work or thinking about stress. And when I am with my family, I am present. I'm not looking at my phone. We share dinner every night at the dinner table. We laugh, we joke, we watch shows together, we take vacations together. And so I put so much effort into my family and being present and having these experiences with them as well. And they know that bow hunting, which I share hunting, and my girls have all been hunting with me. It's not quite their deal. They have school and sports and friends and family. It's more like to get out for an adventure with dad. And so every year I make time to do that. But they don't have the same fun as I have. Like, I like to suffer. Like, I like to go out and really push my limits physically and mentally. And that's with miles and with days and with this ultimate challenge that we talk about. And so, basically, I put in the time, at my work, and making sure that I'm responsible and that I'm getting things done on the construction site. And I make sure that when I leave, my clients know that I'm gone and I've got a project manager and that I've handled absolutely everything that I can have. And as far as the hunting industry, I've got podcasts lined up, podcasts recorded. And so really, I'm like trying to live my life in this balanced state. And sure, during hunting season it gets a bit out of balance as I'm trying to spend as much time in the mountains and on these adventures as I can. But in that same breath, I've spent the time in the summer with the family, like hanging out at the lake, and I've spent time barbecuing, and we've done vacations, and they know that this is my time. And so, like, I've been really open about it, and we have these conversations and discussions, and I've got it to where, I don't fight my wife to go hunting. Like, she is on board and is my biggest fan and supports me wholeheartedly. And the reason she does that is like the time in the off season that I spend with my family, like being connected with my family, being engaged every evening, every day that I spend with them. And so for me, it's like how I do one thing is how I do everything. And so I try to be like the best husband and father I can, the best business owner I can, and also the best bow hunter I can.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I really love that you mentioned that the way you do one thing is the way you do everything, and that's really key because if you're not present while you're up on the mountain, it's hard to be a good hunter. If you're not present while you're with your family, it's hard to be a good husband and father. So that's really key. Now I do want to ask, because there's also a lot of people out there that are struggling to find that balance. When did it click for you? Because I mean, from the moment you got married, you were perfect and you knew exactly how to hold that balance, or maybe not. But how long did it take for that to click and for you to realize to be present in each situation individually?
Man, it's I definitely wasn't good at the start. I have I've made mistakes, like through bow hunting and through life and through my marriage, like and you have to readjust and improve. And so, like, I think life, like, we're getting better as we go, or that's the goal anyways. And so you gain perspective the more you go through life, and the further you go. So, like, I've just learned along the way and gained these perspectives along the way, and it's just through trial and error and living my life and wanting to live my best life. So, I can't remember like an actual switch. I know that I've been heading this direction and created this life I want to live for the last 25 years. I've been working in this direction, but I wasn't good at it at the start. Like, I had to make mistakes. I had to readjust. I have been out of balance at times in my life, like hunting too much, or not being engaged, or being stressed out when I'm home, and not interacting with my family. And I just like these times in the mountains and these bow hunts, like, really, it shaped me. And so it gives me time to reflect when I'm in the mountains by myself for 10 days. I can't hide from myself. Like, I get to see who I
Hmm.
truly am, and I get to evaluate my life and my interactions with my family, my interactions at work, and try to like adjust those when I get back. And so, I think this bow hunting has really turned me into the person I am, because it's given me something to work for, something I love with like every fiber of my being, something that I want to be doing as much as possible. And so, through that love of it, it's like made me work hard at work to be able to create financial stability and have myself out of debt so I can spend more time in the woods. Like to be up in the woods, like to be able to share my stories, to come home and have my family's support and family's love. And like that's what I think about, like on these hunts that get really challenging and adverse weather, and like I just feel like so gracious and humble that I get to spend this time out there doing what I truly love to do. And so then when I reflect back and I get home, it's like, well, man, I really got to go out to dinner with the girls or do a barbecue, or I really got to spend some time or let them know how much I appreciate them. And so, like, no, man, I wasn't good at it at first. I've made every mistake in the book, but I try to readjust and I try to just gain this perspective in my life and how I'm operating. And I like to put my head down at night and like feel like I accomplished everything I wanted to accomplish, and also like my family interactions were positive. And so if they, they're not going to be every single day, and so there's going to be some nights or some days where I reflect back and go, man, I really didn't handle that situation right. Like I need to go back and have this conversation with my girls and say, I wasn't thinking about this the right way. Like I was stressed because of X, Y, and Z, and here's the adjustments I'm going to make, and here's how I'm going to do it different. And so I think it's like I think life, we just get better as we go, and I'm definitely not the smartest one out there, but I try to like gain this perspective in like how I'm operating day to day, and I try to improve upon it.
No, I love that. I asked that because, again, people in your class of hunter that have figured out that balance, it's hard for people that are just getting started to maybe understand that you didn't start that way. And so I love your perspective of it was a constant progression, right? It will get better as long as you, again, you highlighted very well, you make those pivots. You actively choose to make that different. It's not just going to magically get better. You have to recognize where you messed up, take responsibility for it, and then go back and show your family that you care. Show your business that you care about your business for the reason of your family and not being in debt and wanting to be able to have more time in the mountains where you can actually be present there. Because if you're not, again, if you're not present at home, if you're not present at work, you can't be present in the mountains because you're going to be worried about, oh, did I get this email, or did I miss a phone call, or did I miss this meeting, or, did I miss this with my family? So I love that perspective and the fact that it's 25 years in the making. I mean, that's quarter of a century, man. That's that's significant
Don't
amount of
remind me,
time.
I
So
got
that's
those
awesome.
grays coming in, but yeah, that's really good insight, man. You're absolutely spot on.
Yeah, no, and I love that. And there's a lot of people that listen that are family members. They are either spouses or they're looking to get married, and they need that information from people like you, who have lived it and have learned to get better and have gotten to the point where you're comfortable. I mean, you seem very, I guess the confident would be the word. Whenever, like you said, you show up at the trailhead, you're ready to go. You show up for your family for dinner, you're enjoying your family time. You show up for business, it's business, right? And so that's awesome that you've got that ability to be present in all of those situations. So that's really cool. Um, I guess I'd like to ask you, how do you prepare? You mentioned you work out, you run, you shoot. What are some ways that you prepare throughout the do you even have an off season? I guess is summer your off season?
There's a bit of a slow season, but yeah, not much off season. I've kind of filled my schedule with these hunts that go throughout the year. But yeah, it's I definitely, like, it means so much to me. It's like a bit of like how I pay my dues, and I was doing it before anybody was watching or paying attention, or before
Hmm.
anybody before it became the hot cool thing to do in hunting. Like, people thought I was crazy when I first started, as I was running marathons and ultra marathons to prepare for these hunts. And now it's a bit more of common ground that people see the benefits of being able to work out. But I just looked at at hunting as like this complete hunting skill, and it's all these facets, that all these building blocks that go in to make a complete hunter. And I saw how important physical fitness was. I saw that the mountains are brutal and elevation is brutal and carrying a backpack for days on end. And so like I started tapping into that. And so my workouts, like I really like trail running. I like rucking as well. Rucking gets the weight on my back, gets me used to the pack weight. But with trail running, and I don't run anything flat, I don't run any pavement, it's all trails. I live in Ennis, Montana. I live in a beautiful place, and I can be to a trail out my back door. I have permission from the ranches, and then also so many trailheads to go running. And so my key when I'm working out is I get elevation. And with trail running, I can just put a higher exertion on my body in a shorter amount of time. So, like 45 minutes, I can get such a solid workout that would take me 3 hours of rucking to get the same workout. And so I'm able to condense this time. And so really I just build these habits in my life that are positive. And so for me, definitely running more in the summer months as a lot of these trails open up and things, but pretty much I just run 6 7 days a week. And again, this is a progression. Like I started out with 3 days a week or every other day, and
Mm,
so I really enjoy the trail running. It's actually become like another love of mine. And so every day I'm paying my dues in the mountains, and I'm running 1,000 feet of elevation, 1,500 feet of elevation. I'm working on my cardiovascular system, and it's also like it's a two-prong approach, is where I'm working on my physical fitness and making sure that I'm in top physical shape for these brutal hunts, but I'm also sharpening my mind. Like I'm getting like this I'm building these calluses on my mind. Like I'm having to put one leg in front of the other. I'm building discipline because I'm making myself put on my running shoes every day. And that's whether it's 20 below and the snow's blowing, or it's
mm,
raining sideways, or if it's a nice sunny day. And I love to run in the toughest time of the day. So like I'll wait today for the heat of the day when it's above 80. And by the time it gets to summer, I'll be running in 90s and hundreds, trying to get my body heat adapted for these early season hunts. And so for me, it like builds discipline, it builds mental toughness, which is another major pillar to success, is building physical fitness. Mental toughness is building like my shooting skill. I shoot my bow nearly every single day, and I'm working on the focus and concentration of executing these quality shots. I'm working on the skill set of archery, because once season gets here, I'm stuck with the skills that I've work to get. Like you don't really get much better during hunting season because you're not
mhm,
shooting all the time or working on the skill set. So like I've just broken down bow hunting. I have such a love for it, and such a love, like harvesting a mature animal in like these extreme mountains of the lower 48. Like to do that feels like climbing Everest. And once you climb Everest once, like you get that feeling of success, and that feeling of your hard work paying off. And so once I get that feeling once, I'm ready to go try to find it again and start working towards it again. And so really it's just these daily habits that I've built to make myself better for the mountains. And I just continue to strive forward with nutrition, with physical exercise, with mental toughness, with shooting my bow. And then also there's so much that goes into it that's just knowledge base as well. It's like I don't sit in front of the TV. I mean, I may sit in front of there an hour or two at night when I'm relaxing with the family, but it's 7 o'clock before I shut it down and sit down and relax a bit. And even then I can hardly sit down in a chair at that point. Then I'm
mm.
stretching, watching a show with the family, or I'm on Onyx or Google Earth surfing some unit that I'll be hunting, trying to mark waypoints and vantage points and trailheads. And really, there's so much knowledge that goes into it as well. And so I'm just working on all those facets to be a better bow hunter daily. And I reap the rewards once season gets here.
Exactly. Yeah, and it sounds like, you put in time every single day, whether it be a little bit or a lot. Some days it sounds like you've got obviously more time, and then other days you've got a little bit of time. But, running, unfortunately, it's a consistent theme that keeps coming up with people that I respect their success, and I'm like, man, I absolutely hate running. As one of my weaknesses, and I just need to make it not a weakness anymore, because it seems like that's a consistent theme, having that good ability to get out on the trail and run, because I could ruck for days. That's something, I'll be your pack mule. I'm not the fastest dude out there, but I'll carry whatever weight for however long. But I'm definitely not your runner. So, and
I
the
think
running I
rucking
can
works
see.
too, man. I think
Right.
rucking works too. I think it's like just getting yourself out there and getting those workouts in. Like rucking is so important as well. But yeah, and then it's like we have our strong suits and our weak suits too. It's like, man, running has become easy for me because I've done it for so long and almost get this enjoyment or love for it. And dude, I've sat at the trailhead and like sit in there for 20 minutes before I can get out and tie my shoes on. Like I've thought about turning around because it's raining, and I have turned around. I have failed, and I go home and then I feel like a piece, It's like I really feel bad about myself because I didn't go for a run. So man, I have these same challenges and challenges in motivation daily that I have to make myself do it. And now I've been making myself do it for long enough where I don't even have that fight or that talk with myself. I just get my running shoes on and get out the door and get started. I always feel better when I'm done. I never feel
Yeah.
worse after a run. I always feel better. And so, man, I think it's just that discipline of making yourself get out and do it, and then the consistency of it. But yeah, like even though you hate to run, I weightlifting is tough for me. Like guys can get into the gym and can lift weights, and it's no problem. Like that's what I struggle with. Is like a run is easy for me. It's like habit, and so I can get out on the run, no problem. But then I really have to put effort into total body fitness and upper body fitness so I can carry that pack so my back doesn't go out. Like I'm not the biggest guy in the world either, and so like when I have to pack an elk out 400 pounds of meat or whatever the case is, like I got to make sure that I'm ready for it. And so for me, my discipline comes with like my body weight exercises, my upper body workouts. I've been doing like Mountain Tough Fitness lately. Like those guys are great in there, and those are the workouts that like I don't feel like doing, so that's why I have to do them.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing for me is, finding those in your chinks in your armor or your weaknesses, whatever you want to call them, and attacking them head on. And that not only does that make you better physically, but also it makes you better mentally because you're finding those weaknesses and you're saying, I'm going to go straight after them, because there's going to be times when you're up in the mountain and you don't want to be limited by a steep ridge, or something that you have to get up or get down and then wonder how you're going to get back up. Like there's obviously a fine line between safety and then physical ability, right? And so there you got to find that line, but you also don't want to be limited by your physical ability when you're up there. You're chasing these mule deer, elk, whatever it is, even sometimes turkey, man. Spot and stalking mountain turkeys is just that's one of the most difficult things out there, especially with a bow. But yeah, that's that. And then also some of the things, I just barely got into. I went out on my first bear hunt. Was it 2 weeks ago? And some of the places that you can get into that bears live, they're not they're not nice. They're not nice to your knees. They're not nice to your back, and you want to be able to be physically capable to be able to get into those spots so that you can find the critter that you're after. So I love that you bring that up, that there's days that you have to fight through mentally, even though you love running and you love getting out there, there's still those tough days where you still got to push through. So I think that's definitely something that's key for a lot of people out there as well, to understand that no one's perfect. You're going to find those moments where you are weak, but pushing through them, you're going to reap so much more benefit than giving up on it.
Yeah, man. Spot on. It's like you know, you get one chance at life, and we hear that, right? And it goes in one ear and out the other. But if you really think about it, like we get one chance at this deal, and so like you really want to try to get the most out of it, and you want to build. You can be anybody, like you want to be the man you want to be, and so like you can decide who you want to be in life, you can decide what you want to get in life, and you can start working towards it, and it's available. Like there's opportunity for all of us out there. You just like you have to get out and outwork the competition. You have to build these character traits that you admire in different human beings, and whether that's a dedication, or whether that's doing what you're saying you're going to do, or doing like all these traits, these character traits that we admire. you can be that person. You just have to decide, and it starts today, and you start making decisions that are around this bigger overall goal of the person you want to be, and you start working towards it, and eventually, before you know it, you become that man.
Exactly. Exactly. So, with that being said, what came about that got you started on the podcast with Eastman's Elevated? Why podcast? Why not jumping on the YouTube train? Which you've got some great videos out now, but why did you start with podcasting? And what's the significance behind Eastman's Elevated?
Yeah, so man, it's just like I overthink everything. I overanalyze everything. And hunting, a lot of the reason I've had success is I think outside the box. Like I'm always thinking of the next place to go, or how to get the correct vantage point that shows off country, or how to find these new areas. Like I learned a long time ago, like I'm not trying to follow anybody else or see where somebody's picture is and go to where they're going. Like I want to put in the research and find the mountain ranges that lend itself to my style of hunting, and I want to find these places. Like a lot of the enjoyment, like I think it's human nature. Like we're adventurers by nature, and so to go to these new places and to be able to dial in these places, figure them out, and be able to be successful is like everything to me. And so I just had all this information that I wanted to share, and all these discussions that I wanted to have. And I was writing at the time, but writing is like, we have a magazine that comes out once a month, and I get one article in dang near every magazine, that I'll write or go in depth on one of these subject matters. But a podcast, it lent itself to me being able to dive deep down the rabbit hole of these different subjects, and these different skill sets, the different facets that make you a quality bow hunter. And so really, I started it to be able to share some of my insight on these places, to be able to have these conversations. And I've also, like, it's helped me improve. It's helped me improve with my conversational skills, which has helped in business, which has helped in the hunting side of things, like the hunting industry, to be able to walk into a room and have confidence and talk to anybody about anything. Like the one thing that I have my PhD in is bow hunting. And so it's like the one thing I can discuss with anybody out there and don't get too intimidated. So like it's been really good for me as far as human growth. I just started it. I just had so much information, so many things I wanted to talk about. And I had such a common thread with the blue collar bow hunter out there. Like here I am, a carpenter, I'm a business owner, like I'm hunting these same lands that everybody else can have, the same experience everybody else can go do. I'm out there with them, and I'm out there, and my success comes not from being lucky. My success comes from hard work and dedication to my craft. And so, like, I'm able to explain that to guys and really reach guys with this common thread, as I'm doing the same thing that they're out doing, and able to articulate it and explain it to them. And so, I think that was the basis behind starting the podcast. And also, it's like always been a dream to be able to do what I love to do. And I love Barney construction and being able to make a living at construction, but really my love is for bow hunting. And so the more revenue that I can make for it, the more time I can spend doing it, the more effort I can put into it. And I just love it with every fiber of my being. And so, like, it was a way for me to start something that was my own, to have my own voice, to be able to get my word out there, and to eventually start to attract the attention from some of these outdoor companies that then would stand behind me and the podcast and the message that I'm putting out, and also give me financial backing to be able to go on more of these adventures. Like, it's not in the cards for me to go hunt a $30,000 brown bear or a $20,000 doll sheep, but there's all these adventures you can do for under $1,000 or under $2,000. And so, now through being able to make a little money in the outdoor industry, like I just got back from Australia, I've been to New Zealand, I
Wow.
go to Hawaii every year and hunt with buddies. I've been to Alaska multiple times, and then every Western state in the United States, I've hunted about every animal they'll let you hunt out there. And so through being able to make a little bit in the podcast industry or the outdoor industry, it's I pour it right back in, and it's been able to fuel future adventures and then future hunts, and then the more financially secure I can get as I'm good with my bills and paying down my debt, and like everything that I have I own. And so like I don't have much outgo, I don't have to make a lot of money, so I'm not a slave to the 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week job just to be able to pay my bills and support my family. And so that's kind of been the goal the whole way along. But yeah, it's just grown into this beautiful thing, man, where I built like this audience that just supports the different ventures and different things I do, that follow me on social media or follow and download the podcast each and every week. And so then I also have this responsibility to these guys, as it's become almost like a mentoring role, in life, in perspective, in family, and then in bow hunting. And so that's really been the journey. Eastman's elevated, like, I don't know, man, it's just like a bit of a buzzword. Eastman's, I've always been part of Eastman's. Like, that company has been so good to me and has given me all my opportunities in the hunting industry. And that's from writing to filming to podcasting. And I can pitch an idea to them and they support it, like they have such confidence in what I do and then back me 100%. And so, like, I definitely wanted to incorporate Eastman's in the name, and then, like everything I do, like it's just elevated. So our mission statement is to help Western hunters become better and have more success, and that's exactly what the podcast did. And the information I was able to share, that's kind of the elevated part of it.
And that's outstanding. That's awesome. And I love hearing that, genuinely you just want to help people get better. You want to provide information, but also to be able to provide that information, you obviously need to have that experience. So you're also out there, getting after it and doing, putting back in, right? You're not just hiding away these adventures, but you're going and you're providing that information to other people so they can get better as well. So that's amazing. I do want to ask, what's this? So the bear behind you, obviously people mount things for a reason. There's a story behind that bear, I'm sure. Is that a brown bear? Is that a black bear that's color phased? What's going on with that bear?
Yeah, this is a big color phase bear. Um, yeah, it's a blonde color phase. It's a giant boar. He's as wide in the chest as he is the back end. He's a big 6.5 foot bear. He's just under a 20-inch skull. So yeah, he's a trophy bear, and it's meaningful to me now. Like, I have a bunch of hides and bears that I've harvested with my bow, but this was actually my first bear with my bow. And bears, like black bears, they're entry level dangerous game, and they don't seem entry level when they're charging at you, like they are a real danger out there. And bears are just different than ungulates, man. They're different than shooting a deer or elk. And especially when you got to get so close with the bow and arrow, like you put an arrow into a bear, he roars like a lion and spins and bites at the arrow. And I have actually been charged by two of them that I've hit with arrows. One that I had to hit with the second arrow that I was able to knock up and hit him behind the head into the lungs, that died dang near at my feet. And then another one I had to shoot with a pistol. And both of these times, or at least with the pistol, the bear was just trying to escape downhill, and I was in his way and had to defend my position. And he had an arrow through the lungs, luckily, which slowed him down a bit. But this bear is special to me because it's, I had hunted bears with my rifle a bit. And then, this is like deep into my bow hunting journey, where I had been bow hunting and I kind of came back, and I'll find these different species. Like, I hunted antelope once with my rifle and I didn't get hooked. But once I started hunting with my bow, like, my respect for their instincts and they're just so keen. And especially when you get close, their eyesight's so good. It's just the ultimate challenge. And then I got hooked on it, and I've been antelope hunting every year since. And it was the same thing with these bears, as I got hooked on bow hunting and had some success. And it was like, man, this spring I'm going to go out and try to kill a bear with my bow. And at the time when I was doing it, there was nobody that was doing it. It was like, sure, you hunt black bears, they hunt them over bait or they hunt them with dogs, but nobody's out spot and stalking bears with your bow and arrow. And I mean, I'm sure there was
Mhm.
guys doing it, but at the time it felt like I was a crazy man because this is an open rifle season and I have my bow out there wearing orange trying to get close to this thing. And this was just like this giant boar, man, that I had spotted on this grass, this like green hillside, and I had made this big play. And bears, you know, you just got your experience hunting bears. Like you never see them close. You never like see them at 60 yards or see them in their 500 yards off. They're miles off, you know? And so like you're always in for this super adventure of like trying to get over to where they're at. And I got over to where he was at and then I had him close and he was walking right at me at about 30 yards, turned and gave me a broadside shot and I put a perfect arrow into him and he went over and died. And so this is like a dangerous game for me. Like I said, like, you know, and never say never. Maybe I'll get my chance to hunt grizzly or to hunt brown bear, but man, I'm a blue collar bow hunter. It's like, you know, if I can't do it for a couple $1,000, it's I'm probably not interested in it. But black bears I can hunt every year, and they're color phase, and they get giant ones. They put weight on them. They're definitely dangerous game where you got to be good with your pistol and have this shooting process, and then like everything's ramped up, like the intensity is ramped up, like the you have to put a perfect arrow in this thing because nobody wants to chase a wounded bear. Like nobody wants to wound any animal on planet Earth. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong, but a wounded bear, you know, chasing it in the thick brush, you might get more than you bargained for. And so, like, you
Mhm.
just the everything's ramped up, the intensity's ramped up, and the excitement's ramped up. And so, to be able to harvest one with my bow, this is like my first. It was actually my first one with a bow. It's still one of my biggest bears and one of the most awesome color phases. So yeah, this thing means the world to me.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And I figure, you know, most people that unless you've got them all over your house, right? You know, there's usually like this is your office, so there's something about that bear that's why you mounted it there. So I love that story, dude. I'm pretty jealous. That's your first bear with a bow. Like that's a pretty good sized bear. I'd say that's a very large black bear, and color phased bears are amazing. Um, we got to see one. I think it was either 2 years ago. My buddy drew a tag here in Utah, and we were using dogs and watching them chase this bear. He refused a tree, and so he was old, mature boar, color phase, beautiful cinnamon bear. And I think the closest we got to him was maybe 100 yards, but he was running and running, and then even to the point where he would just kind of trot, and the dogs obviously wouldn't go up and bite him or anything, but like he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna keep walking till you guys get tired. Like, and you see these big old bears, and you think they're these lazy, you know, Winnie the Pooh, where they're sitting down eating honey and all this stuff. They're impressive. Like with how much weight they carry, they can get up to speed pretty quick. They can move. They're constantly grazing and moving. They're not just plopping down and being lazy. So that's a big deal that you were able to get a bear like that. That's pretty sweet, especially with a bow.
Yeah, they say they can run at 35 miles an hour. So you can imagine a
Mm.
linebacker that weighs, you know, 240 pounds that can hit you, that can run 20 miles an hour. Well, now you got a bear that weighs 300 pounds and he can run 35 miles an hour and he's leading with teeth and claws. Like you do not want to get hit by one of those things.
Mm-mm.
So they're gnarly,
No.
man, and they do like they get that lazy rap because they do have a bit of a lazy behavior as they are the king of the mountain as they kind of graze around and feeding grass, and they can kind of lull you into that. But the moment they want to kill something, the moment they want to go on the attack, the moment, you know, like being crafty and running from those dogs, like those things are absolute athletes and they'll put all their muscles into use to be able to get to you or to be able to get away from you. And so, man, they're a super cool animal and they're really challenging. Like a lot of these bear seasons, I get to hunt them for 2 months. But there's been seasons where I have 50 days into trying to kill a black bear with my bow, where I have
Mm.
30 days into it. I think I'm like 9 or 10 days deep into this bear season already. It's been a late bear season here, but last Sunday, I was able to arrow like a great. Well, I wasn't able to arrow. My buddy Dan, my best buddy, hunting buddy, was able to arrow a chocolate phase, just giant boar,
Mm.
and I was right on his hip pocket. It was like he was with me a couple years ago. I killed a giant chocolate, and he was with me, and so I owed him one, and so we spotted this bear, and I told him from the very beginning, like, I'll go on the stalk with you, I'll range find for you, and we're going to go try to kill this bear, but man, this is your bear, you're going to kill him, this is your chance, and he was a great big boar. Of course, he was miles away. We had to run 2,000 feet down this scree slope. My legs were blown up for like 3 days after that, but we had to go in. We actually had to get on this bear. In the meadow above him, we had seen a sow and 2 cubs grizzly up above him. And it's the second time we've seen that sow up on that meadow. But this bear came out below her in the lower meadow, and we just had to send it. And so we made our way over there, and we're with bows again and trying to get close to this bear. We actually made this like one of the best moves we can make. And again, it's just knowledge in the mountains, but if a bear spooks from you, he probably winded you. They can smell 7 times what a bloodhound can and 2,100 times what a human can. Like, they can tell time by their scent. They're so good. And so this is like hunting these different species in these different habitats. They improve your skill sets in different ways that then you can apply in different places. Like, how many people have been spooked by the wind? Well, go hunt black bears with your bow and arrow in the mountains. It'll make you better at the winds. So on this bear, man, we held up 500 yards from this bear with like these swirling winds, and we didn't move forward. It had taken us 50 minutes to get there, and we sat there for 15 minutes not going after this bear because the winds were switchy. And then all of a sudden that sun dove behind that hillside. It started to shade that hillside, which then the air around the mountain starts to cool and starts to drop, and we got these downhill thermals, and it's like, man, now it's time. And so we rolled up on this meadow. I was in my buddy Dan's hip pocket, like we were right next to him, and we started rolling up, and we're looking for him in the edge of the timber, can't find him. And we just stopped past this aspen slope, and we had just looked for him, and my buddy Dan took 3 or 4 steps, and I spotted that bear off to our right, and I had to just grab his pack and hold him, and like there was no words needed. He knew exactly what was going on, and we both ducked down, and we had about 5 minutes of playing around trying to get the right angle on that bear, and then he finally put a perfect arrow into it and ran down over the hillside. And then we just had this amazing adventure, like, getting some photos, processing the bear, and then I think we got out at about 2 in the morning of packing that bear out. But just this awesome experience where, again, it's like to live this full life, it isn't just about me arrowing critters. Like, it's also, I want to bring all my friends along with me, and my friends are there for me no matter what. And friendships, it's second only behind family. Like, man, my friends mean the world to me, and I'm always trying to enrich their lives as much as I can. So to be able to help my buddy Dan arrow this giant chocolate bear and get him down, and we actually did a podcast like right after it. The next morning, on 3 hours of sleep, I got him on a recording, and we recorded the whole hunt is on Eastman's Elevated. You can hear about it. But yeah, to be able to help my buddy Dan arrow a great bear, man, that's a winning season for me. And I'm still out. I still got 15 days. In fact, I think Dan will come back down here this weekend, and we'll keep after him. And if I see the right bear, I'll arrow him. But I've killed enough of them now to where I don't need a small or a medium. It's like if he's a giant one, I'm gonna send it and try to kill him. But other than that, like I've already had a successful season, man. So yeah, it's really fun to be able to take part in like these spring hunts, like black bears. And there's a lot of opportunity for everybody out there. You can come to Idaho, you can come to Montana, you can buy tags over the counter, you can disappear in the woods, and you can go have this same experience. And it's just about learning and progressing your skill sets to give yourself a good chance at success. But yeah, man, bear hunting's awesome.
No, that is quite fantastic. It's definitely a better experience than what we had. But again, it was my first time out, and we only had a couple days, so I'm excited to get more into it. It's definitely an exciting time to get out during the spring and have more opportunity to be up in the mountains than just the fall. So that's amazing, man. Just kind of wrapping it up here. What would be, I guess, one thing that you would leave for someone who is getting into archery, getting into bow hunting? Is obviously not having maybe much success. What's a piece of advice that you would leave for them?
Yeah, I think comparison is the thief of happiness. And so don't compare yourself to somebody that, like me, that's 25 years into my bow hunting journey. Like, I'm definitely going to get more opportunities and have more success. And so I think it's like really try to enjoy the journey. That's like what I try to enjoy. It's not just the successful parts that I'm happy for or that I enjoy. It's like embrace the process. It's like find enjoyment in practicing and getting better with your bow. Find enjoyment like you were 2 days bear hunting, taking on this new venture, paying your dues, learning bears, learning a new species, going on this adventure. Like really try to enjoy it. Like life passes by pretty quick. And really, the fun is in the journey, not the end goal. It's like I love arrowing critters, and sure, that's my goal on every hunt. But some of my best hunts were unsuccessful hunts that I had this amazing adventure and really got to test my skills and had 10 days of chasing a giant around that just beat me, that had better instincts or keener instincts or made the right moves. Like these animals are crafty. And so, like, I just try to enjoy the process. And if you're really passionate about it, like follow your passion, put in the work, and just keep striving to be a better bow hunter. Like the harder you work on your skill sets, the success will come. Like you will have the success that you're yearning for if you just put in the work, if you enjoy the process. And it's loving it for the right reasons. It's loving it for the adventure and loving it for the experience, not loving it for a social media post or the praise that you get by other hunters. Like that's not the good reasons to enjoy hunting. And so just make sure that you're in it for the right reasons. I say, like, enjoy the process, enjoy training for it. And through training for it, it's making you healthier, which is making you a better father, better husband. It's making you healthier. And to have passion and something you live for, man, I think that's like the real key to life. So if you found something that you love, don't be deterred by a failure. Like, dude, the only reason I'm any kind of bow hunter is because I've failed every way you can fail. I've missed shots, I've messed up stalks, I've messed up hunts, I've made all these failures. I just try to learn from them and try to get better and try not to make the same mistake, twice, even though it usually takes me 2 or 3 times to learn my lesson. I'm not the quickest learner out there, but I'd say, just try to learn from it. Just be a sponge, take in information, let your ego go into the bow shops and try to learn about your bow and ask questions. Don't be worried about looking stupid, or there is no looking stupid. There's just learning, and this male ego or ego in general will get in our way of like being a student of the game and progressing at our skill sets. And so, ask people for help or ask friends for help or go into the bow shop. Like, don't be afraid to look like an idiot, because we're all idiots in the end. But I think that would be like the advice I'd give to a bow hunter. Like I think that would lead to a happy and fulfilling life.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate that. And on that, we're going to wrap this up, guys. I really appreciate your time here, Brian. We're definitely going to have to do another one, a part 2, or even more than that, because you are a wealth of knowledge and you've got so much experience. You've been through it. And on top of that, you're not just some single guy out there making it happen, but you've turned this passion into a career and also been able to find that balance with family, which is rare. It's hard to find that. So I definitely appreciate your information here, guys. I'm going to leave links down below, but Brian, if you want to give a shout out to your podcast, your social media, where can they find you at?
Yeah, thanks so much, man. I really enjoyed the conversation. I love connecting with like-minded individuals. So I just really appreciate you having me on the podcast. And definitely, you just hit me up anytime for a part 2. But yeah, if guys are interested in following along in my adventures, definitely follow my social media at Brian_Barney on Instagram. That's about the only social media I'm on. And then, yeah, check out the podcast, Eastman's Elevated. And then we have this new podcast with Dan Picard and I. That's Eastman's Bow Hunting Journal podcast edition, Life of a Bow Hunter. And I'm able to dive in depth in these subjects with one of my really good bow hunting friends, which makes for really good, consistent podcasts. So yeah, we're putting out those podcasts. You can check me out, Eastman's Hunting Journal on YouTube, and catch some videos there. And yeah, man, that's about it. We'll keep putting out content as long as people keep watching.
Of course. Yep. And I'll leave those links down below, guys. Again, thanks so much, Brian, for your time. I really appreciate it. Guys, go check out his videos and podcasts and information. Again, just a wealth of knowledge. And hope you guys are able to, of course, get out, live your life, and love it.